Hello, everybody. Thank you so much and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for our first ever virtual Forever Buff Spotlight event. We are very excited to have you all here. I want to make sure before we get started that you all have a glass of wine in hand and you're ready to hear from these wonderful vintners that we have joining us today from our alumni network. We're going to have a really, really great time tonight. Before we get started, I just want to cover a few logistics. So we ask that you as a participant keep yourselves on mute, and that if you have questions for our winemakers that you type them into the chat that can be found at the bottom of your screen. We are going to be covering a lot today, a lot of really exciting stuff about what these winemakers do, and so we may not have a chance to get to your questions, but if we don't, I will make sure that your questions get answered by our winemakers and are sent out to you via email. We also recommend for a better viewing experience that you make sure your screen is set to speaker view. That way you'll be able to see the alumni winemakers as they're talking, as well as our host. And throughout the event, we will be giving away some really fun and fabulous prizes. So be sure that you're listening for your name because we'll be selecting winners at random. And now I would like to introduce our host, Dawn Barone. So Dawn works as an associate director of the Forever Buffs outreach team for the CU Boulder Alumni Association, and she has a very serious passion for wine. You should see her basement. I don't think I've ever seen so many bottles of wine in someone's home, except maybe some of these winemakers that are on our call today. Like most of you, she's a buff. She graduated in 2009 with 2 degrees, 1 in history and 1 in psychology. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Dawn so that she can take it away.
Thanks, Haley. I appreciate it. Welcome, everybody, to our Forever Buff Spotlight Alumni Winemakers Edition. First, I hope you're all settling in okay. And I'd like to just toast everyone to get this thing started. So welcome and go Buffs.
Go Buffs. Cheers, everybody.
I think we're going to have some fun tonight. So sit back, relax. Tonight we're lucky enough to be joined by 3 fantastic wineries who are going to be sharing their CU connection, their businesses, and their passion for wine with us. So let's go ahead and jump right in and meet our winemakers. So Jess, let's start with you with Bella Grace. Give us your name, your major, your grad year, and tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, I'm Jess Havill from Bella Grace Vineyards out here in Amador County, California. I'm in our wine cave here in Plymouth, California. We sit at 1,650 feet elevation. I graduated from the University of Colorado Boulder as well in 2009 with an economics degree. And I've been working full-time for my family's winery, Bella Grace Vineyards, for the last 7.5 years.
Great, thanks, Jess. And Kevin, let's move on to you at Randonée.
Great, yeah, I'm Kevin Green, and I'm making wine here in the Willamette Valley of Oregon, calling in from Hillsboro. And I graduated in 1996 with a degree in chemical engineering. My wife and I started Randonée with the 2014 vintage, so this is the second career for me.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. And certainly, last but not least, let's go to Vivác Winery, and we have 2 people here today. We have Michele and Jesse.
Yeah, we're both from, we both are alumni from Boulder. I'm also a Jesse. I don't know why there's 2 Jesse winemaker alumni, but we're from Dixon, New Mexico, in between Taos and Santa Fe. I graduated in 1998 with a
Spanish literature.
Spanish
this is why
literature.
there's 2 of us.
Exactly. Yourself?
I was a BFA theater major, and we have a great deal of ties to CU in many different ways, actually. So it's a big part of our story.
Great. Well, welcome, and thank you for being here. Before we dive into some questions, we want to have a little fun with this as well. So let me grab my handy dandy spin wheel here, and we've randomly selected people, and we're going to be giving away some prizes throughout the night. So let's go ahead and start with one right now. So here we go. All right, so it looks like it's, that was a really lame spin, by the way, but it'll get better with time. So it's Forever Bus playing cards, and our first winner is Dave Marbury. All right, so we'll send this to you, we'll get connected, and we'll get you your prize. So thanks for being here, Dave.
This spin the wheel thing is so Boulder. It's unreal.
All right, so let's get into some questions. So each winery identified a wine that they wanted to showcase tonight, and I think let's just go through and talk about which wine we want that you chose to talk about. So Vivác, which wine are you drinking tonight? And tell us a little bit about it.
We are drinking the Rosé of Cabernet. Michelle's going to get it. We opened our other rosé.
We're now drinking the Rosé of Cabernet.
The Rosé of Cabernet. This is our first vintage that we've done. This was last year's vintage, vintage 2019. We are so super excited about it. Really good acidity, nice, light, clean. I mean, it's just one of those, we actually took a trip to Central Europe last year and tried some Cabernet Rosés, and I had never had one before, and I decided we have to do that here in New Mexico. So here we are.
And I'm taking part in the chug portion of that spinning wheel so that we can move on and actually taste the Rosé of Cab with everybody.
We don't have to use the spin wheel to do that, but there is a category there to sip and smile. So hopefully we do that all along the way. All right, Jess, Bella Grace, what wine did you select tonight?
Bella Grace decided to go with the Barbera. This is our 2017 Barbera. This Barbera actually won second place at the CU Buffs Homecoming on Tap event last year when we all used to be able to get together and have some fun. We chose Barbera because it's sort of Zinfandel from Amador or Barbera from Amador are sort of quintessential wines that grow really well here. And we really wanted to show, this is our #1 selling wine across the board, whether it's to our customers out of our tasting room or our wine cave or to our wine club. It is a wine that has a lot of, in terms of flexibility, in terms of pairing with wine, or pairing with food, excuse me, but it also is just really easy to drink.
Thanks, Jess. And Kevin, how about the Randonée? What are we drinking tonight?
Well, since I'm here in Oregon and we're best known for Pinot Noir, I chose 2017 Pinot Noir. And I get my fruit for the Pinot Noir from my friend Dave's vineyard year in, year out, and usually just make about 3 barrels, maybe 4. I think the 17 was the high point in terms of production with a whopping 4 barrels of Pinot Noir made. And I source 2 different clones. My favorite clone of Pinot Noir for wine geeks out there is Wädenswil. And this has 3/4 of that and 1/4 of Dijon Clone 777. And I over vintage the wines in French oak barrels, so it got about 16 months of barrel age with maybe about 15–20% new wood. Actually, at that small production, shared 1 new barrel between 2 different vintages.
Nice.
Very nice. Very tasty. Great. Well, so, you know, you all have such depth and breadth of wine knowledge, and that's not a schooling path through the University of Colorado. So I'd like to back up a second and just talk about, how did you get involved in wine, and how did CU sort of help you along with that journey? And Kevin, since you just finished off with your wine tonight, let's keep you going, and if you could answer that, that'd be great.
I suppose for me, it's a little bit easier. Not that engineering is winemaking, but chemical engineering was, as it turns out, maybe a perfect basis for becoming a winemaker. Winemaking is all about logistics and keeping track of innumerable minutiae of detail, and really just trying to track everything down to the nth degree, because a lack of attention to detail means the wine is going to very likely turn south, and no one would be enjoying drinking them tonight. On the other hand, if you would ask any of my classmates at Boulder, oh, will Kevin be a winemaker someday? I mean, I don't think I ever drank wine when I was in Boulder. In fact, I can say 0 times with absolute certainty. So from that perspective, I mean, being at Boulder prepared me in many different ways. I think mainly the exposure to so many different opportunities. I did a minor in economics, so I was over on Jess's side of the campus a little bit, but all these different things that and people that I met and international students obviously set some sort of a spark in my brain or planted a seed.
That's great. That's great. Let's move on to Vivác. How did CU shape your journey into the wine industry?
I'll let you go first.
I actually took a semester abroad down in Chile, junior year, and that's actually where I fell in love with wine. The beer down there was expensive and kind of skunked, and the wine was cheap and great. So I ended up drinking a lot of wine down there. When I came back up to Boulder, we were a group of guys, and we had a group of friends, a house that was mostly girls that were friends of ours, and one person in there had traveled, had a wine basis in her knowledge, and so like she ended up, we would throw wine parties, our 2 houses together or whatever, and I would start to help her buy the wines and stuff like that. So that's actually where I first started drinking wine. I don't know. That's it. Yeah, one thing led to another, and it pretty quickly happened after that.
I drank a lot of wine while I was at CU. I was a Tri-Delt, so hello to all my Tri-Deltas out there. And so we drank a lot of wine, not at the house, of course. And being a theater major, and being a theater major, that's just one and the same with having a drinking problem.
So let me follow up with that one. So where would you go in Boulder to drink wine, or where would you go today? What are some good spots that have a great wine list?
I don't know about today, but back in the day, in the late '90s, there was what was that pool hall called? There was that one. There was 2 bars right next to each other.
Is that the Foundry?
The
Yes,
Foundry.
That's it.
Foundry.
Exactly. And I know we drank some wine there, but did you guys drink wine out?
We really went to that awesome wine shop, the liquor store.
Liquor Mart.
Liquor Mart. That was our go-to. And then we drank.
House party.
Yeah, elsewhere.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, thanks for sharing. I'm sure we all have stories about where we were and spent our late night hours while at CU Boulder.
Yeah, good.
So Jess, how about you? How did you get into wine, and what kind of experience did you have at CU Boulder that maybe helped you along the way?
Well, I'm 2nd generation into the wine industry. So the vineyard was purchased in 2004. I went to college 2005, and I thought it was just a cool side hobby my parents were going to do. Our first vintage was 2006, so right in the middle of my sophomore year, they decided to make some wine. And then I did an internship 2007 and 2009 right after I graduated in the vineyard here at Bella Grace, and then decided to move on and try a ton of other things out there. And in terms of the job market, I lived in Chicago, and then I lived in Denver for just over 3.5 years before I moved back. So I was sort of on a different path. And when they decided to make this into a real business, they asked whether I could come back and get into sales. I think with an economics degree, I spent a good amount of time out there on the hill drinking, but I also have always been interested in doing sales and marketing and building a business. So that's been really fun for me from the 2nd generation standpoint. So my job here is I do all our outside sales and marketing, as well as run our wine production during harvest. Now, shout out to the Tri-Delt pancake, all you can eat pancakes. You could definitely have found me and some of my friends there throughout I think they did it once or twice a year. But there was zero chance we drank wine to pair with those pancakes. That was a whole different experience. I think for me at Boulder, one of the biggest things that I enjoyed, maybe didn't lead me into wine, was just putting yourself out there and trying new things and really interacting with the community. And we had a lot of fun, whether we were volunteering or whether we were playing on fair and field or just walking the hill or climbing Chautauqua. My experiences at Boulder really led me to, I think, enjoy life a little bit more. So coming into the wine industry, you have the wonderful experience of being able to sell wine and drink wine pretty much whenever I want. But at the same time, there's something cool about the University of Colorado that led or encouraged sharing that experience, which leads us here to today.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, I have to commend you. You're in your cave and you got the flag back there on the barrels. It's great.
Oh yeah, we've got the wine cave going. So the wine cave, my dad's an engineer. He went to Lehigh, which at the time, he did a master's in engineering. So this was his side project. And we built the cave, finished in 2013-ish. And it's 57 degrees every day of the year in here. Now, for the first 4 years I worked here, there was no Wi-Fi. So doing a Zoom meeting we wouldn't even thought that happening. And I actually had to test this. How deep into the cave can I go where I can still be on a Zoom for 100 CU alumni?
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny.
I'm impressed. I mean, so many of us are working from home these days, and we struggle with our own internet in our houses, let alone a wine cave. So nice work.
We are stretching the limits, I believe. Like this is the end of the line in terms of Wi-Fi. But I think that's sort of a cool thing. I know I'm very lucky from a work from home standpoint that you walk outside this cave, you got beautiful vineyards, and you get to share wine. So I'm not stuck necessarily at a computer desk all day.
Sure. All right. Well, I think it's time to give the spin wheel another try. What does everybody else think?
I hope for a sip and smile.
I know. So hopefully I can redeem myself on the spin here. Nope. Hang on.
No.
Hang on.
There, that's a little better.
Hey.
Still in the green.
It's kind of both. So, oh, there he goes. Bella Grace Prize. So, all right. And the winner for this one is Joan Lutz. So, Joan, we'll be in touch and we'll get you connected with Bella Grace for your prize.
Joan, I think you should pick the buffalo head.
Uh-oh, look at that.
I don't know if anyone out there has seen this buffalo head, but go Buffs. This is an animal pour and a aerator. So this actually helps the wine breathe as you pour it. We always can drink a little bit more. The buffalo is sort of gurgling into the glass here. And it's sort of a fun way to tie in wine drinking as well as having the Buffs tied into every night we're drinking.
Go Ralphie.
That's great. So all three of your wineries are located in different states. You know, we have Vivác in New Mexico, we have Randonée in Oregon, and Bella Grace in Northern California. How does that tie into your wines, and how does that make your wine unique, and what do you find from your areas that are really highlighted in your wines? And Vivác, you're up on my screen right now, so I think we'll just go with you.
We always take turns, right? Who's talking? It's the joy of having a married couple who also work together. We are at 6,000 feet in Dixon, New Mexico, just south of Taos. So we have a very unique climate, and it creates really beautiful wines from our estate vineyards. And then we also source from the southern part of the state, but it's 100% New Mexico grapes 100% of the time. So you know that you're actually tasting what New Mexico has. And it's 2029, we're going to be celebrating our 400th anniversary of growing grapes in the state. So we have a long history that's really a part of the culture as well that most people just don't anticipate. I think the flavor profiles of our wines are uniquely European in styling. You're not going to get a lot of sweet wines coming out of what we do. It's higher natural acidity. It's thicker skins because even in the southern part of the state, you're looking at 4,200 feet. So you're getting a lot of tactile mouthfeel.
A Rocky Mountain benefit.
Yes.
There you go. Very nice. Kevin, what about you? How about up in Oregon? What unique profiles come out in your wine?
Well, I think the best wines are made from grapes that are grown suited to the climate. So as in New Mexico, in the southern part of the state, it sounds like there are some grapes grown that get a little bit more sunshine, a little bit more heat, and obviously the higher elevations, it's cooler. Here in Oregon, because of our proximity to the coast, we have a very limited growing season. I'm sure everyone knows that it rains in Portland all the time, except that we have a drought every summer. So we have plenty of sunshine, but the difference is that we have a very narrow window to get the heat units into the grapes. So we have to choose carefully the varietals that only need X growing degree days. Again, I'm the engineer, so I think I drift into the techno speak here a little too much, but Pinot Noir, as it turns out, gets just enough heat every summer during our drought that happens every year to get ripe. And so in a cool vintage, when the rains come early, you know, all of us as winemakers are biting our nails and really worried that we're going to make great wines. And then we have some warmer vintages, especially the last decade, and it has been a little easier to ripen fruit. And for example, I make Sauvignon Blanc as well, which needs a little bit more heat than the Willamette Valley could have offered maybe 20 years ago. But it has ripened reliably for really the last decade or more. So it's a coastal influence. We get really cool nights and not too hot of days. It certainly isn't a desert, and it's not dry and mountainous like you might find in the western slope of Colorado or in Northern California. So it's pretty unique from that perspective.
Yeah. And so I'll follow up because you touched on this a little bit. You know, climate change is a big topic worldwide. So how is that impacting the wine industry and specifically your winery? How are you combating that?
It's a good question. You know, for me, the site where I talked about that I get the fruit from my friend David, it's for that area, the Yamhill Carlton district in the Willamette Valley. It's a unique site because it's a little bit higher elevation. For us, that means maybe 600 or 700 feet. And it's east facing. Of course, that means it's not picking up the same amount of sunlight during the day from the south. So depending on where a vineyard is situated in the Willamette Valley, it will be fine with some more climate change to really make some very nice, elegant Pinot Noirs and nothing that's overripe or too bruising for a good long time. But there are other people whose vineyards are at lower elevations or strictly south facing. And there's been a lot more interest in higher elevation plantings and or plantings that are that have aspects that face not due south and maybe even north, especially right now to make some nice sparkling wines.
Yeah, I know it's a big challenge worldwide. So thank you for sharing all that. And then Jess, how about you? How does your climate in Northern California impact your wine?
I think well, climate in general is forever changing. We've actually, since I've been here, we had the drought go through 2015 and started to get a little bit more water in 2016, 2017. So we're seeing vintages over just the last few years that we're drinking have large differences in both production as well as flavor components. As the vine, we do what we call a mix of dry farming as well as active irrigation. So dry farming, you don't have the farmer water the vineyard at all, versus we do a deep drip one time a year. And we had to do that 2013, 14, 15, and part of 16 because of the droughts that were happening. And then as we got more water, we've done less of that. So the last 2 or 3 years, we haven't had to actively irrigate. For the 2017 vintage, where the production was a little bit higher than 2016 or 2015. I think what's important for us, you know, we were, to tie it all together, you had Amador County is an hour east of Sacramento and 2 hours south of South Lake Tahoe, about 2 hours directly east of Napa and Sonoma, sort of the most famous wine production valleys of the area. And we are in what we call the Sierra foothills. So just as Boulder sits at the base of the mountains and it was carved out by glaciers, so was the Sierra foothills. And we do Italian and Rhone varietals here. So in the southern Rhone region of France, you are at the foothills of the Alps, as well as the northern Italy and northern Italian region, you're at the foothills of the Alps. So that's why we have Barbera. We try to grow and plant varietals that are going to be best suited for our area. Now, what's funny about that is the glaciers, as they carve out the valley, you have this giant climate change many years ago that really established what we have going on here. But what's important for us is the sustainability in terms of our farming. We're 100% solar powered. The lights and the Wi-Fi is the only power that goes into the cave. So we're doing everything we can to put a little bit of a focus on that. But every year what we see with climate change is an unpredictability in terms of the production and quantity, as well as the quality. We have large variations, especially over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, yeah. And what about, and any one of the wineries can answer this, but you know, organic wines. I know that's something that's people are dabbling in, and it's becoming a topic, and more wineries are getting involved in organic wines. How many of you produce organic wines, and why are you headed that way?
May I interject in a little slight of, are you talking about organic farming, or are you talking about actual organic wines, which are not using sulfites to help preserve the wine and age it, versus organic farming and biodynamics?
Sure. I was referring to the wine, but actually, if you wouldn't mind just giving a little snippet on both of those for all of our listeners, it might be helpful for those that don't know.
We organically farm on the grapes that we produce on our property. The grapes that we buy, we can't mandate that they do that because they sell to us and a bunch of other people and other stuff. But they try to be more organic if we express that, but which we do. But for us, making a wine without any added sulfites seems like a weird moot point to us. But so we don't personally make organic wines. We want to use less sulfites whenever possible, but we also want your product to be fresh and stable when it gets to you. And
I think that that's an important thing. I don't know how many people are aware of it. I know for a long time, a lot of wineries battled the issue that people thought that they got headaches from sulfites, and that argument has been around for a long time. And I think it's an important one to raise, that that's not what you're getting a headache from. If you have a sulfite allergy, it's a very significant issue. And so it's not simply that you got a headache. That's usually histamines, and we can someday geek out about that. But the point being very specific, if you want your wine to age, and we really do, we want our wines to be old world style. We want them to age. We want them to be as beautiful as we've made them in the winery years down the road, even better. And the way you have to do that is by adding a small amount of sulfites. So I do think that that's an important distinction.
The other guys,
thank you both.
What do you guys think, Jess and Kevin?
Go ahead, Jess.
I would say we make really drinkable wines. That's the goal. You can find our wines out here in California, approved in Nugget, which is a sort of a health food grocer and Whole Foods. We do everything we can to be sustainably farmed. Sorry, my dog's here. It's 5 o'clock. It's dinner time, but it's also his 7th birthday. The idea from being 100% solar powered down into the vineyard being 97, 98% sustainably farmed, having a wine cave that had an initial both economic and environmental impact when we dug it out, to then having a building that pays for itself. We thought over 7 years, it's actually gonna pay for itself over 4 years, so we're at the end of that. The idea we're trying to do is be as friendly to the environment in combining that in terms of making really good wines. When you add sulfur to a wine, as Vivác was talking about, what we're doing is we are eliminating the wild yeast from the vineyard, where it can go any different direction and you don't really know. It's a little bit of a gamble, and I'm not sure the other processes there. So we're taking control of the situation and making sure that we end up with a wine that you're gonna wanna drink more than one bottle of. We will work towards more and more sustainability. The organic part of winemaking is certainly something that we'll try with and we'll experiment with, but on small scale until we can get some of the technology, I think, that goes into organic winemaking a little bit further along in the process.
Yeah.
So for myself, Don, if you want me to jump in. So
Go ahead, Kevin.
for Le Randonée, we always use fruit that's from vineyards that are third-party certified in their farming practices. So, and we do a bit of a mix of, say, natural wine or sulfite-free wine and regular, but I feel as a consumer myself that the most important thing is that I can go and see that a third party has said, yes, this farmer or these farmers have met our requirements, and those requirements are available to everyone. So in the case of our Pinot Noir, it's a LIVE certification. LIVE is the name of the organization. So Live Inc. is the website. And that's based here in Oregon in the Northwest. And with that certification also comes salmon safe. And so the idea here in the Northwest with a lot of migratory salmon is that the waterways are not negatively impacted by the vineyards that are certified in this way. The Sauvignon Blanc comes from a vineyard that is Food Alliance certified. It's a different sort of certification that's usually focused more on food products as opposed to beverages. But I guess, and then the other factor is that, yes, agreed, sulfites are a tool to prevent oxidation and control wild yeast and bacteria and make sure that the wines age well. I do make a Pétillant Naturel, which is a traditional sparkling wine. And because it's sparkling and because it's in a bottle for most of its life, I don't have to add any sulfur to that wine. So it's what I describe as a vin nature. I suppose technically, if the grapes were organically farmed, then I could probably call that an organic wine, but it's something that doesn't have sulfites added. So it really depends on the product, whether as winemakers, it's a reasonable risk for us to take or not. And in that case, I feel it is. But most of the time, I think we're a little reticent to head down that path.
Yeah.
I'm excited to try that sparkling wine.
I should have sent that one to you.
Yeah, well, we have time and opportunity. You have a website, right?
Yeah.
The Pinot is beautiful, by the way.
Both of you guys, all right. So there was a mix-up in the shipping and stuff. So we ended up with Jess's half white, and not his Barbera. But that's excellent, Kevin. This Pinot is insane. Both of these wines are so beautiful. I'm so stoked to be amongst
Quality winemakers.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you very much.
Fabulous. And we got to hang out with Jess over in New York.
Yes, at See You Boulder Next.
It was awesome.
It was a different world.
Hopefully coming back to a market near you once COVID goes away.
I want to know more about this.
Yeah. Well, I think, should I try the spin wheel again? I think it might be time.
Somebody out of the chat's telling us we need a sample. So I guess it's sip and smile.
All right, yeah, let's just start there. So there's purple one, and it's really hard to see. It says sip and smile. So if you're at home listening in and watching, take up that wine glass and have a sip, and hopefully it brings a smile.
Yeah, sip and smile.
All right, and then
I was first trying that. I should jump in and say, Jess, great job on the Barbera. I was first trying that one.
Thank you.
That was better,
Big
right?
fan of the rosé and the Pinot.
All right.
So
It's
the opportunity.
it looks like Forever Buffs playing cards. And our next winner is Anna Nelson. So thank you, Anna. We'll be in touch with a prize. Thanks for tuning in tonight. So we are getting close to time here, but I do want to ask one more question to all the winemakers out there. So, you know, obviously farming and agriculture and bottling, you know, there's a whole process of bottling, all that plays into it. But branding, like who the brand is and how you came across that, you know, every winery has a unique story that goes into why you picked the name and why you picked the labels on your bottles. So I would love to know a little bit more about why you are who you are. So Jess, you're on my screen right now. So I'll let Bella Grace take the lead here.
Absolutely. So we actually, my parents, their grandparents are Bella and Grace. So Bella is my great-grandmother from my mom's side, and Grace is my great-grandmother from my dad's side. Bella was Irish Catholic and married a Mexican gentleman. And one of the fun stories about Bella is she had 12 children and 48 grandchildren. So real old school. We're talking they got married in the early 1900s. And they she was born in southern Colorado, moved to New Mexico to tie it all together, then to Mexico, and then to California. And then Grace was Scottish. She immigrated from Scotland through Canada to Michigan, and my dad's family's from Michigan. So we're Bella Grace Vineyards. It's one of those names, I think, when I was in college playing beer pong, I didn't really think that it was that cool. And now when you get to embrace the heritage and embrace the story, it becomes much more impactful. My middle name is Bartlett, so Grace Bartlett. It sort of ties it all together and makes it really fun. So we have the two wonderful ladies, Bella and Grace. My mom's actually our full-time winemaker. So we have a very female sort of oriented or female strong label and design. We have, as you'll see when you go to our website or come out and visit, quite a few different label designs, and they're all getting upgraded over time. But the goal for us is to really be able to tell the family-owned, family-run, small winery story, because that's really who we are, and bring that out to the market.
Thanks, Jess. I love that story. And I particularly love the female-oriented brand, because females in the wine industry, it's kind of a new and upcoming thing all over the world. It was traditionally male-dominated, and it's great to see so many women now finding their way through the wine industry. So thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely. Her palate is unbelievable. Her execution in the winery is pretty much flawless. And I think there's something to that. And I think a lot of people try to box it into a certain style, but I know there's a lot of different styles out there. We have very drinkable wines with a little bit higher acid profile that are wonderful with food, because she's been a long time cook. And so that sort of she drives the style and flavor and really the finish of our wines across the board. There's not a Bella Grace wine you can try that you know it's coming from the same winemaker. Yeah.
Thanks, Jess. Kevin, what about you?
Well, in my case, the international connection is, I guess you'd say, here and now. So in my previous career, I was fortunate enough to live and work in Ireland for several years. And that's where I met my wife, Clodagh. And we met in a hill walking club. So the hill walking is the Irish version of Randonée. Randonée is a French word which means a walk or a trek. And so we chose that name to kind of honor our connection and how we met and started on this journey together. But I guess more than that, or as importantly, you saw the little, my wanderer, my little guy on the label there. But it's also a metaphor for my journey in life. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't think anyone in Boulder would have thought that I'd be a winemaker someday, that I'd be this lucky, as Jess said, to be able to share wine and the experiences that it is always part of for all of our clients and friends and family. And it just looking back, it turns out that when I've made big decisions in my life,
Uh-oh.
That's not good.
Spin the wheel.
Yeah.
thinking that when I get to the other side, I will have more opportunity. So why did I study engineering? Because I thought, oh, I'll have more opportunity at the other end of the day. Why did I move to Portland when I graduated from CU, even though I had to go ask my buddy Justin, hey, Justin, where's Portland? And he just, shook his head and laughed, and he just said, we got to fix you, Kevin. But it's because I thought, oh, I moved to Portland and I have more opportunity, and sure enough. So it's my Randonée, and now Claude and I have hitched up our knapsacks together, and it's ours together.
I love that, Kevin. And I love associating wine with opportunity because, wine is different every year, and every growing season there's opportunity, right? You don't know until you're in it and the season's happening. You don't know what's going to happen with that vintage, but there's always opportunity. So I love that. And Vivác, well, let's wrap that question up with you all.
We, as far as the branding goes, we're,
Maybe you start with the name.
Vivác means high altitude refuge in Spanish, and it's a mountaineering term. I spent some time in Chile, on a study abroad, and that's where I fell in love with wine. So we kind of didn't want to I don't know.
And we're at 6,000 feet.
We're
it's
at
the highest
6,000
altitude
feet.
you can really grow a wine grape.
Exactly.
So there's a keeping in
We're kind of like the high altitude refuge of winemaking. It's a high altitude refuge. You have something to say?
Points to you.
So then, trying to be as quick as possible, we're going to talk over each other. It's going to be really fun for everybody watching. There is a beautiful mountain that is across from our vineyard and our tasting room in Dixon that is shown on the label. And this has gone through, can you get that closer?
I can get it.
This has gone through many a circulation of an actual painting to monochromatic to now what it is as a little more subtle, a little more old world style branding for our label. But it is also a huge monument for where to find us. And people that are traveling from Santa Fe to Taos are able to kind of locate us according to this beautiful outcropping.
That's great. I love this label. You just write on it how to find us. I love it. All right. Well, I know we're at time, so we'll wrap things up here. I think we can all agree that this could have been a 2-hour-long event. So who knows? Maybe this is the start of something new. Maybe we'll turn it into a series. One thing I want to do before we wrap things up, and not to bring the mood or atmosphere down, but the CU Buff community lost a big buff today. So we all are pretty familiar with the twins that attended over 80 years of basketball games. And Betty Hoover, one of the famous twins, passed away today. So I think in honor of her, let's all raise a glass. And I think she deserves a big go Buffs. Go Buffs, Betty Hoover.
Go Buffs.
Go Buffs. Those twins were awesome. They still are awesome.
Yep.
It was one of my favorite things was when you go to games and whether the sports team was performing or not, most likely not, based on my recent experience, you always knew that they were going to bring the energy and the love and the support, and they were there with their pom-poms. And it's just one of those things from Boulder that's so iconic that I think is going to live on. And Betty's going to be missed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, everybody, and especially all the wineries. Please, thank you so much. This was amazing. We're getting such great feedback, and I think one of the questions that we all might be asking ourselves is, how do we get a hold of your wine? And so my colleague Haley has put together a slide that we're going to show here that tells you how to buy, and our alumni winemakers have very generously offered a discount on the wine. And so Haley, if you wouldn't mind turning to that slide.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I get to Jess and Michelle's slide, we did have a question about your talk show. They recommended that you do a talk show, and I said, well, they already have one. So when your slide comes up, if you'd share a little bit of information about that so people can check that out, that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
So our first up is Bella Grace. Just leave this here for a few seconds, and you will all be getting this info via email as well.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
So clearly we have a website. There's a promo though. You have to use all caps. For those of you who are wondering how to get the buffalo head, you actually can find that on our website. And if there's any opportunity when you're going to the store and you're thinking which wines to get, why not buy one from a bus?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jess.
Shipping to California, shipping to across the country. We'll make sure that you're taken care of. And my email was on that slide. You can reach out to us.
And again, I'll reiterate what Haley said. All of this information will be in an email that is sent out post-event. Kevin, is there anything you want to share about La Randonée as we close?
Well, we'd love to share some Oregon wine with anybody in the country that you'll see on our website where we can ship. It's not every state, but it's almost all of them. And as with everyone else, we're doing an extra promo to encourage everyone to sample a little bit of wine from each of the wineries. So throughout August, please take advantage of this and support some small businesses and small producers.
Great. And Vivác, anything you want to share?
We're jumping on the bandwagon with the extra 5% if you purchase from other wineries, the other 2 wineries that were today, and email us proof of purchase. We're giving an extra 5%, so that's super awesome. And the show that we do is a Facebook Live every Thursday at 5 o'clock, so tune in tomorrow on our Vivác Winery fan page. And burn between us, and we taste wine, a lot of fun, and we also have some great guests. Every other week is a new guest, and we tackle some pretty big topics and some pretty silly topics too.
And thank you guys to the other 2 wineries, man. You guys are awesome. I love hanging out with y'all, and we're gonna do great things together.
Thank you guys. This was great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all, and I think I speak for everybody that decided to join us tonight. Thank you to the winemakers for taking the time to be here and very generously offer up their wine at a discounted price. This Forever Buff Spotlight event is part of the CU Boulder Alumni Association mission to provide meaningful opportunities to connect through our CU network with other alumni and enrich your lives and celebrate other Buff stories that are out there. And speaking of network, I want to give a little shout out to the Forever Buffs network that we are launching here in the next month or so. It is going to be an online platform that is private and exclusive to CU Buffs. And there you'll find a chance to connect all across the world with CU Buffs. There's opportunities for career growth. You can mentor students there. It's going to be a great place to highlight and represent businesses such as these wineries. So be sure to watch out for those emails. They are coming in the next month or so. And we hope that you join our network and expand the Forever Buffs reach and community.
Just real quick, Jack wants to Jack wants to say hi.
Happy birthday, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
7 years old.
You do one more spin, Dawn? I saw a question there on the chat.
Let's pose it with a spin.
Yeah, we can do that. Before I do that, though, I want to pitch one more thing. So the Alumni Association is really focused on highlighting buffs in the hospitality business. This is one of our efforts to do that. Another way to do that, and I think one of my colleagues will share this link in the chat, but we've created a directory on the website to highlight buffs in hospitality. So we started with Colorado businesses, and it is part of an evolution and a growing process. So please check it out and stay tuned for more additions to that. So with that said, I will spin again, and hopefully a successful spin.
Let's go.
And then I don't know, one of my colleagues, maybe, you know, I don't have a name listed yet, but let me know. All right, here we go. This is gonna be the best spin yet, I think.
Yeah.
Nice spin.
Nailed it.
Oh my gosh, it's another playing card. I think this thing is like,
Spin it again. We're good with the cards. We're good with the cards.
Play card.
Oh, your best spin yet.
Randonée, prize from Randonée. Do we have a name, Haley?
Yes, we do. Patrick Loeb. I hope I'm pronouncing that last name correctly, but we've got Patrick Loeb as our winner of the Randonée package.
Nice. Patrick's going to get a couple of bottles of wine for a very discounted price.
All right.
Oh, there we go. All right. Well, thank you, Buffs. Thank you for tuning in tonight. There will be a post-event email with a survey, so please let us know how we did and how we can keep getting better. And again, thank you for joining. And until the next time, go Buffs.